Next piece, I kind of want to make a little adjustment to his nose. And so when we're seeing things that we can kind of adjust, we want to try and take care of those early in the early blockout stage that we're kind of blocking. And so to do so, I'm going to go to my polyfill mode, my polyframe. You can actually, it's Shift F to get in polyframe mode. I usually just hit this button on the side here, and also we're going to actually go to our head shape. This is the shape that we're kind of wanting to work on right now. And so to do what we want, we're going to actually hold Control and Shift, and we're going to select all the pieces. When you select them, they basically go away. Okay, so we do want these. So I'm going to get rid of this shape, his inner mouth, and all that piece. And then I'm going to get rid of this red right here, which should give me enough to actually mask this off. And actually I'm going to go to Mask Lasso, and then just hold the Control key down, and I'll mask off that nose. And then I'm going to Control Shift on the outer region. So currently just the nose is masked, but we want it unmasked, but all the rest masked again. So I'll just hit Control and on the outside and just tap. And now all that's unmasked is the nose, which is kind of what we want. And so I'm going to grab the Move key, and I'm going to actually just kind of move that nose down a little bit. So we can see that his nose is just a little bit closer, more down, because when we place his eyes, we want those eyes to be, and we may need to still make adjustments to that nose, but for now, that'll work. Just kind of looking at the overall shape. And I'll turn off the polyframe and go back to draw mode by hitting Q, and then just kind of do a once over, just kind of looking to see how things are all, kind of see that our shapes are looking pretty good for what we're trying to do with this character. Okay, for this next part, we're going to add the eyeballs, and so to do so, I'm going to use the Append subtool. And so when you append, we're going to append a sphere 3D, which puts a new sphere into the scene. And if you hit F, that frames the shot, frames all the subtools that you currently have showing with the eyeball turned on. And so with that sphere 3D, if we turn on the polyframe, you can actually, and select that sphere, you can actually see that currently this sphere has poles, and you can tell by just seeing that pole is right there on the end. And that's kind of what I'm looking for when I'm building the eye, is to actually have that pole, because then you can actually build the iris a lot easier that way. So with these eyes, they're going to be a little oblong, but that's okay currently with how we're going to build it. So with that sphere 3D selected, we're going to go to the actual scale, and we're going to scale it down quite a bit. And then also we're going to rotate in the X. I'm going to hold down Shift, and that should snap for us. So 90 degrees. So the poles are actually facing outwards towards us now. So with that in mind, we're going to actually just scale that down a little bit more. And then also I'm going to just scale in the X, just to kind of give it a little bit more oblong looking shape. And then also I'm going to scale in Y as well, and move back to the front, and then scale down as well again. So at this point, I'll move it up more towards the front of the eye, or to the face, actually, sorry. And then I'll also turn on transparency. So with transparency turned on, we can actually see through the objects, but our current subtool that's selected is still solid. So with that, we can actually scale and kind of place this eye how we want in the head. So I will rotate it out just a little bit, and then also just continue to scale just to get that eye shape that I'm kind of looking for, and also rotate just a little bit in the Y as well. And I'm going to turn transparency off so I can, and the poly frame as well, just so I can kind of see the shape that I'm kind of looking for here. And with that shape, it's looking okay. I'm going to have to make some adjustments with the eyeball shape to actually make sure that goes with the eyeball that we're actually going to try and build here. So just move this a little bit closer to his nose, and also I'm going to rotate just a little bit just so it's more like so. Okay. So with that, currently I'm just going to hit Q, just kind of take a look and see how that eye is looking, and it's looking okay with how I want it. And to get a copy over to the other side, you'll notice that I built on the left hand side, which will, when we go into the subtool master to move, we're going to use the subtool master to make a clone or mirror copy, and it'll place that copy over here. And to do so, if you go into the Z plugin and go to subtool master, it brings up all these options that you're able to use on the subtool that you're currently on. So for this one, I'm just going to actually mirror that subtool. And so with merging, I'm just going to merge across the x-axis and merge it into one subtool, so it'll just be one piece, so both eyes are in one subtool. So with that, I'll just hit OK, and this turns every layer back on. And put you at the top of the subtool list. So with that, I'm going to actually just go back to the head, and then make sure that ruler is still turned off, which it is. And so now we have that other eye into the scene how we want it now. And then also I'll go to that layer and rename it to eyeballs. Okay, so with that eyeball in place, we will be making some adjustments to the head just so we can get the shape that we're kind of looking for. So with that in mind, I'm going to go to the actual head shape, and then I will select the move tool and turn on topological. So topological is whatever shape you're going to be messing with, it will stay on that shape. So you'll notice if I do any moving, it moves with the shape that I'm currently on. So if I go to this one and move this one, I can't really move anything other than what's on, say, the ear or the nose. Whatever I'm on will move that. So I want that topological, meaning that it's going to stay on the topology of the polyframe. So it'll stay just on that red, on the red part of the mesh that I'm currently trying to affect. So with that, I'm just kind of pushing and shaping this area out just a little bit, just to make sure so it kind of forms in that eyeball a little bit. So, and that'll work for now. All right. For this next part, I'm going to actually add an eyelid, top of the eyelid, and I don't know if I'll add a bottom eyelid for now. I may add the eyelid later, but to add the eyelids, The best way that I've come across is Steve James has shown this a number of times, is how to create these eyes. And so here's how we go about doing it, and we're just going to make a copy of this layer right here, of this subtool, of the eyeball subtool. We'll just make a copy, and so you just duplicate that subtool. So Control-Shift-D will actually create a copy of that subtool. So I like to actually rename this too, just to what it's actually going to be. So I'm going to call these top eyelid. So this is going to be on top of, so I'm actually just moving this in place as well. So this is sitting on top of the eyeballs. And so to do so, I'm going to, I'm actually going to solo the top eyelid. So you just hit this, the solo mode, and that'll actually show us. And then I'm also going to turn the polyframe on. And then from there, I'm actually going to go to the clip curve brush, and I'm going to, just okay with that. And so hold down Control and Shift, and I'm going to just drag. So anything underneath the black, so you can see the black line. If I hold down the space bar, I can move that line as well. So currently, anything that's going to be underneath in the black is going to get cut off. So with that, it's going to cut half of that off. Okay, so right now, these eyelids are looking a little obviously not like eyelids. But what I will do is actually I'm going to turn on local symmetry, and I will actually scale that up just a hair. Not with local turned on. We just want local symmetry. Not local symmetry, local. Hold on a second. Actually, I want to activate symmetry on. And then I want local symmetry. There we go. That's what I was looking for. So now we have symmetry. And then I will actually unsolo that so I can actually see what those eyelids are kind of doing. I'm going to just scale them up just a little bit more. And then also I'm going to rotate up and then kind of put them a little bit more into place. And that looks like it works okay for what we're looking for. If you get lost, your shot gets lost. If you hit F, it'll basically frame what you have currently selected. And I'm just trying to scale here. So frame, there we go. All right, so I'm going to turn local symmetry off. And also just try and get that a little bit more what I'm looking for. So I'm going to rotate those up just a little bit more. And then just actually, I'm going to reset my orientation and by holding down Alt. And then that kind of puts us back into a straight on XYZ. And that way we can actually affect that how we want to. And it's still a little, so I'm going to actually scale that down a little bit and actually move it a little bit more into place how I'm looking for with that eyeball, with the eyelid. Okay, so with those eyelids, I'm pretty okay with that. So I'm actually going to just use the move brush, and then I'm going to actually just kind of just tap on that a little bit just to kind of shape that up a little bit, and also bring these eyelids in a little bit more, and put this one down.